Oprah Winfrey from pain to power. The girl nobody expected to succeed. Hoke. The little girl stood barefoot on a cold wooden floor in rural Mississippi. Outside, rain hit the roof like tiny stones. Inside the small house, there was almost no food. No one looking at that little girl would have imagined that one day she would become one of the most powerful women in America. No one would believe that the same child who wore potato sacks as dresses would one day interview presidents, actors, billionaires, and inspire millions of people around the world. But before the fame, before the money, before the success, there was pain. A lot of pain. This is the true story of Oprah Winfrey, the woman who turned suffering into strength, and the little girl who refused to give up. Born into poverty, Oprah Gail Winfrey was born on January 29, 1954. In rural Mississippi, America looked very different back then. Racism was everywhere. Poor black families struggled every single day, and Oprah's family was one of the poorest. Her mother, Vernita Lee, was only a teenager when Oprah was born. Her father, Vernon Winfrey, served in the military. The relationship between her parents did not last. Soon after Oprah was born, her mother left her with her grandmother. That grandmother was named Hattie Mae, and even though the family had almost nothing, that woman would change Oprah's life forever. They lived in a tiny wooden farmhouse. No running water, no luxury, no comfort. Sometimes there were days when they barely had enough food. Little Oprah wore dresses made from potato sacks. Other children laughed at her. But her grandmother believed education was the only way out of poverty. She taught Oprah how to read before she even started school. By the age of 3, Oprah could already read Bible verses in church. People in town were shocked. The little girl had something special, something powerful. When Oprah spoke, people listened. A lonely childhood. Even as a child, Oprah felt lonely. She often talked to animals because she had no real friends. The pigs on the farm became her audience. She would stand in front of them and pretend she was giving speeches. Years later, Oprah joked that the pigs were her first viewers. But behind the jokes was sadness, deep sadness. She wanted love. She wanted safety. She wanted someone to tell her she mattered. But life became harder. When Oprah was 6 years old, she moved to Milwaukee to live with her mother. Everything changed. The small peaceful farm was gone. Now she lived in a crowded city neighborhood filled with violence and poverty. Her mother worked long hours as a maid. Oprah spent many nights alone. And then, the nightmare began. The secret pain. At only 9 years old, Oprah experienced something no child should ever go through. She was abused by people she trusted. Family members, men who were supposed to protect her. For years, she stayed silent. She carried the pain alone. She felt ashamed, broken, confused. She believed nobody would understand. At school, Oprah tried to act normal, but inside, she was falling apart. The emotional damage became heavy. She began running away from home. She started making dangerous decisions. And the happy little girl from Mississippi slowly disappeared. Years later, Oprah would say that silence was one of the most painful parts of her childhood, because when children suffer alone, they start believing the pain is their fault. The turning point. By the age of 14, Oprah was struggling badly. She felt lost, hopeless. People around her thought her future was already ruined. And then tragedy struck. Oprah became pregnant as a teenager. Her baby boy was born too early, and shortly after birth, he died. The loss destroyed her emotionally, but strangely, that heartbreaking moment became a turning point. Because after losing her baby, Oprah realized she could not continue living the same way. She needed a new life, a second chance, and that second chance came from her father. The house with rules. Oprah's father, Vernon Winfrey, lived in Nashville, Tennessee. He was strict, very strict. There were rules for everything. Homework had to be finished. Books had to be read. Grades had to improve. At first, Oprah hated it. But slowly, her father's discipline changed her life. For the first time in years, someone truly believed she could become something great. Vernon Winfrey demanded excellence, and Oprah responded. She buried herself in books. She read constantly. Novels, poetry, history, speeches. Words became her escape, and soon, her talent for speaking became impossible to ignore. She joined speech competitions. Whenever Oprah stood on stage, people became emotional. Her voice had power, not because it was perfect, but because it felt real, authentic, human. The scholarship. One day, Oprah entered a public speaking contest. She spoke with passion, confidence, emotion, and she won. That victory changed everything, because the competition led to a college scholarship for a girl who grew up in poverty. This was unbelievable. Education became her doorway to freedom. Soon after, she got an opportunity to work at a local radio station. At first, she simply read the news, but listeners noticed something different. Her voice felt warm, personal, honest. She sounded like someone who truly cared, and people connected with her immediately. Without realizing it, Oprah had discovered her gift. Connection, not acting, not pretending. Connection. The young broadcaster. By 19 years old, Oprah became one of the youngest news anchors in Nashville. It sounded glamorous, but the reality was difficult. Television news in those days was dominated by men, especially white men. Many people did not believe a young black woman belonged on television. Some criticized her appearance. Others said she was too emotional, but Oprah refused to quit. Still, there was one big problem. Traditional news did not fit her personality. When she reported tragic stories, she cried. When she interviewed people, she became emotionally involved. Television executives thought this was weakness. They believed journalists should stay cold and distant. Eventually, Oprah was removed from the evening news desk. To many people, it looked like failure. But that failure was actually the beginning of everything, because producers moved her to a daytime talk show. And there, something magical happened. For the first time, Oprah could simply be herself, the voice America needed. On the talk show, Oprah stopped acting like a traditional reporter. She laughed, she cried, she listened. Guests opened up to her in ways they never had before. Viewers felt like Oprah understood them. The ratings started growing. Fast, very fast. People all over the city began watching her show, and television executives noticed. One producer reportedly said, "There's something different about this woman." That something different would soon change television forever. But Oprah still had no idea how big her future would become. At night, she often sat alone thinking about her past. The poverty, the abuse, the fear. Could a broken little girl from Mississippi really become successful? Could she truly escape her past? She didn't know yet, but destiny was already moving. And soon, one opportunity would change her life forever. In a world where powerful people controlled television, a poor black girl with emotional scars was slowly becoming impossible to ignore. But success always comes with new battles, and Oprah was about to enter the biggest fight of her life. The fight that would either destroy her career forever or turn her into a legend.